No, I was just scratching. Crazy!
You've probably watched SpongeBob SquarePants dozens of times. Bright colors, funny jokes, endless laughter. It feels completely safe, like nothing could ever go wrong under the sea. But here's the thing.
Not letting any of you infected imbeciles near me.
Not everything in Bikini Bottom is as innocent as it seems. Sometimes there are tiny moments that make you pause, tiny details that feel off. Maybe it's a shadow where it shouldn't be, or a character staring in a way that doesn't match the cheerful music. You might not notice it at first, but it's there, hidden in plain sight. Even a scene as simple as SpongeBob flipping Krabby Patties can have an undercurrent that makes you uneasy. Nickelodeon, the network that brought us decades of childhood joy, has actually pulled episodes of SpongeBob from the air because they were too dark, too unsettling, or too mature for young viewers. Yes, the same show we laughed at secretly explored themes that were uncomfortable and sometimes even disturbing. At first glance, everything looks normal. The bright colors, the silly gags, but if you look closer, you start to notice the cracks. So why did a children's show go to such dark places? What hidden moments were too much for kids? And what truths were the creators exploring beneath all that humor? These are the questions we'll uncover today. Stay with us as we dive deep into Bikini Bottom's darkest corners, where nothing is quite as it seems, and the cheerful sponge you thought you knew might not be as innocent as he appears. When most people think of SpongeBob, they imagine harmless fun, silly adventures with Patrick, jellyfishing, or flipping Krabby Patties. But some episodes went far beyond lighthearted humor. These weren't just jokes gone too far. They explored real fears and uncomfortable truths that children weren't ready for. One of the most infamous is Mid-Life Crustacean. On the surface, it's about Mr. Krabs having a midlife crisis, but what unfolds is far darker. He wakes up one morning, looks in the mirror, and realizes he's getting older. Instead of handling it in a normal way, he panics, desperately trying to reclaim his youth. Overhearing SpongeBob and Patrick plan a wild night, Mr. Krabs insists on tagging along. What starts as a silly adventure quickly turns inappropriate. The trio breaks into a woman's house to steal her underwear. Absurd, yes, but then comes the twist that makes it truly unsettling. The underwear belongs to Mr. Krabs' own mother. The embarrassment and shock on his face aren't funny anymore. They're painfully relatable. A character usually confident and in control is suddenly humiliated, desperate, and exposed. Then there's Kwarantined Krab. The Krusty Krab is locked down because of a supposed health scare, and the cheerful restaurant quickly becomes a place of fear and paranoia. Mr. Krab starts isolating SpongeBob, Squidward, and even Pearl, turning friends into suspects. The humor fades, replaced by tension, fear, and mistrust. These episodes prove something unsettling. SpongeBob wasn't always just a kid's show. Could a cartoon reflect real fears, yet still appear harmless on the surface? Bikini Bottom isn't always the cheerful, carefree world we remember. Some episodes reveal a darker, almost terrifying side of life under the sea. Take Kwarantined Krab again. Once the Krusty Krab is locked down, the atmosphere shifts instantly. Doors slam, cheerful music fades, and friends begin turning on each other. Mr. Krabs, usually obsessed only with money, becomes paranoid and controlling, locking away anyone he suspects of being sick. SpongeBob, Squidward, and even Pearl find themselves trapped in the freezer, helpless and isolated. The tension builds with each scene, and suddenly a show meant for laughter feels more like a psychological thriller. The fear is subtle but powerful. Shadows stretch too long. Moments of silence punctuate what should be funny scenes, and expressions on familiar characters' faces seem wrong. SpongeBob tries to laugh it off, but the viewer feels the creeping anxiety. What starts as a joke transforms into an uncomfortable look at control, obsession, and fear. It's almost impossible not to feel the unease yourself. The timing makes it even more chilling. This episode aired during a period when the world was experiencing real-life quarantines. The isolation, mistrust, and paranoia felt familiar to viewers, making Bikini Bottom's nightmare disturbingly relatable. Even outside these episodes, small details appear: a fleeting shadow, a tense expression, or a sudden silent moment. Why did the creators include these unsettling touches? Were they just trying to entertain adults, or was there a deeper purpose? Once you notice it, you can't watch Bikini Bottom the same way again. What other terrifying secrets are hidden behind the bright colors and cheerful laughter? On the surface, SpongeBob is pure comedy, full of silly antics and bright visuals. But beneath that laughter, some episodes carry surprisingly dark and emotional messages. Messages that children may not fully understand, but that resonate strongly with adults. These episodes explore real human fears: humiliation, loneliness, obsession, and the anxiety of being forgotten. What seems like a harmless joke often hides a deeper truth about the characters, and maybe even ourselves. Take Mr. Krabs in Mid-Life Crustacean. His panic over aging isn't just funny, it reflects real feelings of denial and desperation. When he's caught in that embarrassing moment with his mother's underwear, the humor disappears, leaving only the stark reality of humiliation and vulnerability. Mr. Krabs, a character usually confident and in control, is suddenly exposed, desperate, and painfully human. Then there's Kwarantined Krab. Paranoia spreads through the Krusty Krab like a virus. Friends become suspicious of one another, trust breaks down, and SpongeBob, the eternal optimist, faces real fear and helplessness. Even Patrick, normally carefree, shows confusion and tension. The show mirrors feelings of isolation and fear that are universally relatable, even if they're hidden behind cartoonish gags. Other subtle touches throughout the series also reveal darker truths. Gary's quiet sadness when ignored, Squidward's constant frustration, and Pearl's longing for attention. These moments create depth, hinting at emotions kids might not recognize, but adults can immediately relate to. So, if SpongeBob is more than just slapstick, what else could be lurking beneath the cheerful surface of other innocent cartoons? Nickelodeon didn't remove episodes of SpongeBob lightly. Behind the bright colors and silly jokes, some stories had become too dark, too real, or too uncomfortable for children. Episodes like Mid-Life Crustacean and Kwarantined Krab weren't just awkward or inappropriate. They explored fears and emotions that kids weren't ready to process. Humiliation, paranoia, obsession, and isolation suddenly entered a world meant for fun, and the network decided it was too much for its young audience. What makes these episodes so fascinating is how relatable they are. Mr. Krabs' midlife crisis exposes vulnerability and desperation, while the quarantine episode mirrors real-world fear and mistrust. These are emotions children might not understand fully, yet they're presented in a format designed for kids. Nickelodeon faced a difficult choice: keep the episodes and risk disturbing viewers, or remove them and leave fans curious about what they missed. Even today, fans debate whether these episodes were genuinely too dark, or just ahead of their time. Some argue that subtle lessons about fear, aging, or mistrust could have been valuable. Others feel the content crossed a line, showing themes uncomfortable even for adults. SpongeBob's darker episodes challenge the assumption that cartoons are always harmless, proving that even cheerful worlds can hold unsettling secrets. So next time you watch SpongeBob laughing with Patrick or flipping Krabby Patties, remember the shadows lurking just beneath the surface. What hidden moments have you overlooked? And what other safe cartoons might actually contain darker truths waiting to be discovered? Stay curious, because Bikini Bottom is never just what it seems. SpongeBob's SquarePants wasn't always the lighthearted, carefree show we remember. Beneath the laughs and silly antics lies a hidden world full of fear, paranoia, humiliation, and emotional tension. Moments so dark that Nickelodeon decided they were too much for young viewers. Episodes like Mid-Life Crustacean and Kwarantined Krab reveal that even a show made for children can explore very real human fears in ways that make us uncomfortable yet fascinated. These hidden layers show that SpongeBob is more than a simple kids cartoon. Mr. Krabs' desperation, SpongeBob's helplessness, and the paranoia that spreads across Bikini Bottom mirror emotions we all recognize. They prove that laughter and darkness can coexist, even in a colorful underwater world. And that tension, the unease we feel while watching, creates a lasting impression, one that makes us see familiar characters in a completely new light. So, what does this mean for fans? It's a reminder that cartoons, no matter how innocent they seem, can hide deeper truths, darker stories, and unexpected lessons. The next time you watch Bikini Bottom, pay attention to the shadows, the awkward glances, and the tense moments. They might reveal something more than just a joke. And the final question lingers. How many other beloved cartoons have secrets hiding in plain sight? How many shows you grew up with might contain unsettling truths you've never noticed? Stay curious, because the world of animation isn't always as safe as it looks, and Bikini Bottom is proof of that.